Have you ever wondered what happens when the kindest person you know finally stops being kind? When the one who always forgave finally refuses to forget? You might think the narcissist holds all the power, that their manipulation, charm, and cruelty are unstoppable, but you're about to see the truth. Real power doesn't come from control. Real power comes from someone who's been pushed too far, someone who's finally had enough, someone who chooses themselves over the chaos. Stick around because what you're about to learn will completely redefine everything you thought you knew about strength, revenge, and survival. Welcome to Healing Mind, where we explore the journey of reclaiming your power, setting boundaries, and finding peace after emotional challenges. Today, we're diving deep into how empaths break free from narcissistic manipulation and finally put themselves first. The silence before the storm, that strange, almost sacred calm that hangs in the air just before everything shifts. You feel it in your bones, even if you can't put it into words. The quiet that signals a reckoning is coming. The moment when softness hardens into resolve, when patience transforms into action, when gentleness stops bending and becomes unbreakable. You want to know what real power looks like? It isn't the loud declarations of control, the threats, or the carefully constructed image of dominance. Real power is quiet, calculated, and invisible until it strikes. It is not shown in cruelty or manipulation. It is revealed when someone who has always given, always forgiven, and always trusted finally decides to stop giving to those who don't deserve it. Real power is not what the narcissist claims to wield. It is not their carefully rehearsed charm or the destruction they leave in their wake. It is not in their ability to manipulate with a smile or silence with a look. No, the real power is something else entirely, something far more terrifying. Real power emerges when the kindest person you know, the one who always looked for the good in you, finally stops being kind. When the person who forgave time and time again finally decides that forgiveness is not enough. When an empath, tired of bending, breaking, and giving endlessly, reaches the point where enough is truly enough, and they reclaim their life and their dignity. Let me tell you something that might shift the way you see the world forever, because it challenges everything you thought you understood about strength and weakness, about victims and villains, about who truly holds the cards in the intricate game of human relationships. Narcissists want you to believe they are the dangerous ones. They want you afraid of their anger, their cold silences, their sudden changes in mood. They cultivate fear like a shield, building an identity entirely around control, intimidation, and the illusion of invincibility. But there is a truth they cannot admit. Beneath that mask of dominance lies a deep, irrational fear. Fear of the one person they have underestimated the most, the empath who finally says no. Here's what most people misunderstand about empaths. Their compassion is not weakness. Their willingness to forgive is not ignorance. Their patience is not submission. These qualities, empathy, understanding, tolerance, are the very traits that make them vulnerable to manipulation, the traits narcissists exploit over and over again. But when those same traits are informed by wisdom, experience, and self-respect, they become a force unlike anything the narcissist has ever encountered. The empath who has had enough carries insight, understanding, and an almost surgical awareness of patterns. They have been watching, learning, and absorbing details for years, quietly building the kind of knowledge that no charm, rage, or deceit can undo. Think about it for a moment. Who has been carrying the emotional weight in that relationship? Who has bent, stretched, and compromised endlessly to maintain peace or offer understanding? Who has constantly believed in change, given second chances that multiplied into hundreds more, and tolerated behaviors that would crush anyone else? The answer is always the empath. They are the silent witness, the steady supporter, the patient and loving soul who absorbs the emotional chaos and tries to make sense of it. And while the narcissist is busy performing and controlling, the empath is quietly collecting, analyzing, and learning. They know the patterns, the triggers, the lies, and the subtle manipulations far better than the narcissist ever suspects. A fed-up empath is dangerous because they see beyond the mask. They understand not the version of you that the world sees, nor the carefully curated persona you display to gain approval or admiration. They see the truth beneath the layers, The frightened child hiding behind arrogance, the insecurities masked by accomplishments, the void you try to fill with control, validation, and manipulation. They have witnessed your worst moments and still offered love, compassion, and trust. But when they finally redirect that love, trust, and attention toward themselves, everything changes. Their loyalty is no longer yours to command. Their boundaries are no longer negotiable. And in that moment, everything the narcissist relied upon to dominate collapses. It's important to understand that a fed-up empath does not come into existence overnight. They are not reacting to a single incident, a bad day, or fleeting frustration. They are the result of consistent betrayal, calculated manipulation, and the slow erosion of hope. They are the accumulation of every lie accepted, every empty apology forgiven, every time they silenced intuition to give another chance. They've endured love bombing, devaluation, and discards, believing in transformation even when it proved futile. They've stayed through cycles that would have broken most people because empaths see potential, believe in change, and hold on to hope when logic tells them to leave. But hope has a limit, and patience has a breaking point. The tipping point may come subtly or all at once. Perhaps it's a betrayal so blatant that no generosity can excuse it. Perhaps it's witnessing cruelty inflicted on others, a reflection of what could befall them. Perhaps it's the slow accumulation of tiny wounds that collectively become unbearable. Whatever the trigger, the empath's breaking is not of spirit, but of endless self-sacrifice. They stop allowing their love to be weaponized. They stop making excuses for repeated offenses. They stop trusting a system that has never rewarded their devotion. And in doing so, they transform from patient victims into formidable forces, capable of dismantling the very structures of manipulation that once controlled them. This is the fatal mistake the narcissist makes. They assume the empath's history of forgiveness and endurance is weakness. They misread compassion as compliance, patience as submission. They fail to understand that the empath has spent years gathering knowledge, observing patterns, and understanding the psychology of the abuser. When the empath finally decides that they will no longer tolerate lies, manipulation, and emotional exploitation, they wield everything the narcissist has ever underestimated: insight, awareness, and unshakable self-respect. In that moment, the power dynamics shift irreversibly. What was once a game designed to control and dominate is now one where the empath writes the rules. The calm before the storm has passed, now comes the reckoning. So when the empath finally draws that line in the sand, something shifts that the narcissist cannot comprehend. They look at it as just another negotiation, another opportunity to deploy the tactics that have worked for years, the manipulation, charm, and guilt trips that have always bent others to their will. But the empath is no longer playing that game. Their role has completely changed. They are no longer invested in fixing the narcissist, no longer invested in proving themselves, no longer motivated by anger in the way the narcissist expects. There is no explosive, dismissible rage here. This is something far colder, precise, and unyielding. This is the clarity of someone who has truly seen. And what they see disgusts them because it exposes a pattern of cruelty, selfishness, and deceit that cannot be ignored, rationalized, or forgiven. Here is why this transformation is so devastating for the narcissist. The empath's entire value system has shifted, completely redefining the rules of engagement. All of the emotional triggers the narcissist has relied upon for years, guilt, fear, hope, dependency, no longer work. The empath no longer feels guilty for choosing self-preservation over submission. Fear of abandonment has evaporated because they have already emotionally checked out. Hope for change has been buried under a mountain of broken promises. And even if love remains, it is now balanced against self-respect, self-love, and a commitment to preserving one's own well-being. The narcissist, who thrived on emotional leverage and control, suddenly finds their arsenal useless, their power over the empath gone, replaced by a quiet, impenetrable strength they cannot understand. Desperate to regain control, the narcissist begins the familiar dance, the hoovering, the grand gestures, tearful apologies, empty promises of therapy, declarations of future change. nostalgic reminiscing, even rehearsed professions of love. They attempt to deploy every tactic that once worked like clockwork. But the fed-up empath observes all of it with a dispassionate precision that terrifies the narcissist. They can see the manipulation for exactly what it is: calculation masquerading as emotion, strategy posing as remorse, charm hiding an agenda. Nothing escapes the empath's perception now. Every tactic, every pattern, every deceit is cataloged and understood. The narcissist realizes, perhaps too late, that their games no longer hold power over the one they thought was always pliable and compliant. And then something even more dangerous happens. The fed-up empath begins to speak, not in vague, cautious ways, not whispering behind closed doors, not hiding in the shadows of their own fear. They start naming the truths that have been silenced for years. They share their story openly, connect with others who have endured the same patterns, expose behaviors that were once hidden in darkness. They shine a light into every corner where the narcissist once operated with impunity, where lies were repeated unchecked, where manipulation thrived. Suddenly, the narcissist's carefully crafted public persona begins to crack. Their image, once untouchable, now trembles under scrutiny. A single empath, armed with truth and self-respect, becomes the mirror that reflects their deception for all to see. Empaths are perceptive by nature, often without even realizing it. They notice the subtle inconsistencies, the patterns of behavior, the small but significant betrayals that most overlook. They remember which promises were never kept, which relationships were systematically destroyed, which lies were repeated over and over. They see through the mask of charm, the veil of control, the smoke and mirrors of manipulation. And when a fed-up empath decides to act, to speak, to document, and to connect with others, the truth hits like a hammer. The narcissist is forced to confront the reality of their actions in a way they are not prepared for. They face accountability for the first time, and it shatters their carefully constructed illusion of invulnerability. But the danger posed by a fed-up empath is not only in exposing the narcissist, it is in holding up a mirror. Narcissists rely on projection, shifting blame, and making their victims feel responsible for the chaos around them. But a fed-up empath has done the inner work. They have healed, learned, and connected the dots. They know the difference between their own imperfections and the narcissist's manipulations. They are no longer willing to carry the weight of the narcissist's responsibility or to accept blame for actions that were never theirs. This forces the narcissist to confront not only their exposed lies, but the emptiness within themselves, a confrontation they are utterly unprepared for and one they cannot control. Finally, a fed-up empath does something even more devastating. They inspire others. Narcissists thrive on isolation, confusion, and the competitive insecurity of their targets. Their power relies on keeping victims divided, silenced, and dependent. But when one empath breaks free, sets boundaries, and begins to live authentically, they show others the path. Healing becomes visible, courage becomes contagious, and others see that liberation is possible. The narcissist's supply, those who fed their ego and forced their narrative or carried their emotional burdens, begins to wither. Allies question their loyalty, flying monkeys doubt their directives, and the empire of manipulation begins to crumble. One fed-up empath can dismantle not only a relationship, but a network of control, simply by choosing truth and self-respect over fear and compliance. Their control is slipping. Slowly, imperceptibly, the narcissist feels the foundations of their power begin to crumble, but they cannot identify the cause. And here lies the beautiful, terrible truth they will never understand. The fed-up empath is not trying to destroy them. Destruction would imply lingering investment, still being caught in the toxic dance, still caring enough to manipulate or harm in retaliation. No, the empath has transcended that. They are not reacting to you, they are choosing themselves. Their focus is on healing, on restoring their own peace, on reclaiming a life that was once stolen by emotional manipulation. The chaos the narcissist experiences is a byproduct, a natural consequence of someone refusing to continue to play their game, a side effect of a life no longer bending to another's control. The empath's response is simple but terrifying to the narcissist: absence. They no longer engage with provocations, they no longer defend or explain, they no longer justify their choices. Gray rocking becomes their shield, no contact their sanctuary. The narcissist, starved of the reactions they crave, experiences this silence as a form of annihilation. They cannot comprehend that indifference is not a tactic, it is a boundary, a declaration, a refusal to feed the toxic dynamic. No anger, no fear, no hope, no pleading is offered, only the void. And the narcissist, who thrives on emotional energy, positive or negative, finds themselves facing the most terrifying reality of all: a human being who exists fully outside their control, a life that refuses to be weaponized. Of course, this forces escalation. When faced with the absence of reaction, narcissists attempt every manipulation in their arsenal. Crises are manufactured, threats are thrown. Children, finances, mutual friends, reputations, everything becomes leverage, a weapon to force engagement. They panic at the empath's silence because silence is equivalent to irrelevance, a concept they are ill-equipped to process. If the narcissist cannot provoke a response, they cannot maintain the illusion of power. The fed-up empath understands this. They see the tactics for what they are: desperation, not strength. And they do not yield. They cannot heal, grow, or live fully in the same environment that caused their wounds, no matter how familiar, no matter how once comforting, no matter how many strings of manipulation try to pull them back. The empath knows an essential truth: you cannot set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You cannot love someone into wholeness if they refuse the work. You cannot sacrifice yourself on the altar of someone else's potential without losing yourself entirely. These lessons were learned through pain, forged in betrayal, and understood through the slow unraveling of hope. Once these truths are internalized, they cannot be unlearned. The narcissist may move on to new supply, those who have not yet endured this kind of awakening, those with untested empathy and soft boundaries. And while the fed-up empath may feel a pang of recognition for their vulnerability, it is tempered by compassion, not longing. Their loyalty is no longer given to the abuser, it is reserved for themselves, and this is where the metamorphosis becomes permanent, irrevocable, and devastating for the narcissist. The empath heals. They engage in therapy, study the dynamics of abuse, process trauma, and rebuild their sense of self. They no longer internalize blame, no longer accept responsibility for someone else's cruelty. They become educated about narcissistic patterns, trauma bonding, and codependency. They emerge not only wiser, but immune. The next time they encounter manipulation, the warning bells ring immediately. Love bombing, gaslighting, future faking, isolation, these no longer confuse or entrap them. Survival has created immunity. They are no longer a resource, a target, or a participant in the narcissist's ecosystem. They have become, in every sense, untouchable. But the power of the fed-up empath does not stop at immunity. They become a beacon. Their strength, their healing, their reclaimed self-worth becomes proof that liberation is possible. They model boundaries, self-advocacy, and resilience. Others who remain trapped in cycles of abuse see a pathway to escape, to claim their lives, to step out of the shadows. The narcissist's influence begins to crumble, not through confrontation, not through force, but simply through example. One empath's reclamation of their life is contagious, a blueprint for others. Survivors see what is possible and begin to replicate it. The ecosystem of manipulation built on silence, fear, and isolation begins to collapse under the weight of truth, courage, and visible self-respect. Let me speak directly to the empaths watching this right now, the ones teetering on the edge, the ones whose patience has run thin, the ones whose hearts are bruised but not broken. What you feel is valid. Your anger, exhaustion, and resolve are not flaws. They are survival instincts. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. You are not cruel for stepping away from toxicity. You are not weak for enforcing boundaries. You are not abandoning anyone by reclaiming your life. You are awakening to a truth that the narcissist will never comprehend. Your power lies not in destruction, but in preservation. And in that choice, in that quiet, unwavering commitment to self, you become unstoppable. You are not crazy for reaching your limit with someone who has no limits. You are not cold or unfeeling for protecting your heart from someone who has repeatedly broken it. You are not weak, you are not flawed, and you are certainly not a failure for leaving a relationship that was slowly eroding your spirit, your confidence, your very sense of self. Every boundary you set, every step you take away from manipulation is an act of courage. And for the narcissists watching this, those who believe they can continue their games indefinitely, understand this. Your time is running out. The world is waking up to your tactics. Empaths are learning to recognize the patterns faster, to protect themselves sooner, and to walk away before the damage becomes permanent. The supply is becoming smarter, more vigilant, and more discerning. The illusions that once entrapped are now transparent, and one day you will meet someone who sees you clearly from the very beginning. And in that encounter, you will discover the truth you have long denied. All the power you believed you wielded was never yours to begin with. It existed only because others allowed it to, because they cared, because they hoped, because they believed in you. And the moment they stopped, your empire of control crumbled. The fed-up empath does not seek revenge. They do not operate from manipulation or deceit. They operate from authenticity, self-respect, and a commitment to life, truth, and healing. And that is far more powerful than any tactic a narcissist could conjure. Here lies the ultimate distinction. The narcissist's power is external, fragile, and dependent on the reactions of others. It exists only because people respond to their manipulation, because illusions are maintained, because fear and dependency are cultivated. Remove that external cooperation, and the illusion collapses. A narcissist without leverage is not dominant or unstoppable. They are simply someone with unresolved trauma, a personality disorder, and a pattern of destructive behaviors they refuse to confront. In contrast, the empath's power is internal, resilient, and self-sustaining. It grows with clarity, with self-knowledge, and with time. It does not require validation or permission. It does not need the participation of anyone else to exist. It is grounded in truth, integrity, and the unwavering choice to honor oneself. When an empath stops caring about the narcissist's opinion, stops seeking their approval, stops hoping for transformation, and stops sacrificing themselves for someone incapable of gratitude, the narcissist's leverage evaporates completely. Suddenly, they are powerless. They are not feared. They are not respected. They are simply left with the consequences of their own choices and the emptiness they have cultivated. And the fed-up empath, having reclaimed their agency, walks away, not in vengeance, not in anger, not seeking to destroy, but in peace. They take their light with them, leaving the narcissist in the darkness they built. The absence of engagement, the refusal to continue self-sacrifice, becomes the most devastating consequence of all, because it cannot be negotiated, manipulated, or undone. And here's what makes the fed-up empath truly dangerous. They break the cycle. They heal. They reclaim their life. They rebuild with self-respect as the foundation, boundaries as the walls, and truth as the guiding principle. They emerge from the trauma wiser, stronger, and more perceptive, immune to the same manipulations that once entrapped them. They see red flags from a mile away. They recognize gaslighting, love bombing, future faking, and isolation immediately. They are no longer vulnerable, no longer pliable, and no longer a source of supply. Their freedom, their self-preservation, becomes an example to others, a beacon that others can follow, a map out of entanglement, proof that liberation is possible, and proof that the narcissist's control is neither permanent nor absolute. So, let me speak directly to the empaths who are watching, who are fed up, who are nearing the breaking point, or who have already begun to walk away. What you are feeling is not wrong. Your anger, your exhaustion, your decision to put yourself first. It is not selfish. It is survival. Every step you take for yourself is a declaration of worth, a testament to your strength, and a rejection of manipulation. The power you carry is not in harming anyone else. It is in honoring yourself, protecting your peace, and refusing to be complicit in your own oppression. And for someone whose existence relies on the sacrifice of others, that refusal is more dangerous than anything they could have imagined. The fed-up empath's danger to the narcissist is not in revenge or retaliation. It is in the reclamation of their own life. Choosing oneself, walking away, establishing boundaries, and refusing to be entangled in toxicity is an act of extraordinary power. The narcissist may move on to find new supply, repeating the same patterns endlessly, but the fed-up empath moves forward into wholeness, growth, and self-love. They thrive, they heal, they live authentically, and in doing so, they demonstrate the ultimate truth. The narcissist's greatest weapon, the belief that the empath needs them, was always an illusion. The empath never needed the narcissist, they only ever needed themselves. That is the most dangerous reality for a narcissist to face, and the most liberating truth for anyone who has finally chosen themselves. The power dynamic between a narcissist and an empath is subtle, invisible to most people, yet devastatingly effective. Narcissists thrive on the emotional energy of others. They are predators in social, emotional, and even professional ecosystems. They do not seek connection in the human sense. They seek supply, validation, control, and dominance. Empaths, on the other hand, are wired to perceive and respond to emotions. They feel deeply, understand intuitively, and often prioritize others' well-being above their own. This natural alignment makes them particularly vulnerable to narcissistic manipulation, because where others see selfishness or cruelty and recoil, empaths bend, forgive, rationalize, and accommodate, sometimes at their own expense. But what most people fail to realize is that this same sensitivity, patience, and insight, when coupled with self-respect and wisdom, is the exact foundation for unstoppable power. A fed-up empath is the apex of this dynamic. They are not reckless, they are not reactive in the moment. Their power comes from accumulated understanding, long observation, and experience. Years of bending, adjusting, forgiving, and attempting to see the good have allowed them to see through layers of deception that the narcissist assumes are invisible. They know the micro-expressions, the subtle shifts in tone, the lies told casually as truth, the patterns repeated like clockwork. They understand not just what was done to them, but why it worked, and how it manipulated their very empathy. And in that knowledge lies a calm, almost terrifying strength. The kind of strength that does not need to shout to be heard, does not need to strike to be felt, and does not need to win the fight because the fight is already over in their mind. What is particularly devastating for the narcissist is the shift in the empath's internal world. They no longer operate on fear, guilt, hope, or longing. Their emotional dependence is gone, their validation no longer tied to the narcissist's approval, and their patience has reached a limit that cannot be manipulated. The narcissist may escalate, attempt crises, fabricate emergencies, or wield emotional or financial leverage, but the empath has already disengaged on the level that matters most, internally. The narcissist can provoke outward reaction, but they cannot force internal submission. And it is in this internal disengagement where the true collapse of narcissistic power occurs, because the illusion of control depends entirely on the empathy, compliance, and engagement of others. Remove that, and nothing remains. The transformative process of the empath is gradual and often invisible to the outside world. It begins with awareness, a quiet recognition of patterns, an internal acknowledgement that certain behaviors are abusive or manipulative. From there, boundaries begin to form, first tentative, then firm, then unyielding. The empath may experiment with detachment, observing the narcissist's reaction, testing whether their own voice can finally exist without being silenced. Gradually, self-respect replaces guilt, wisdom replaces hope for change, and self-preservation outweighs the compulsion to rescue or fix. What may seem like a single act of defiance is in reality the culmination of years of observation, emotional labor, and careful calibration. At its core, this topic is about the reclamation of power, the triumph of self-respect, and the internalization of authority over one's own life. Narcissists wield external, conditional power, reliant on others' reactions and compliance. Empaths cultivate internal, unconditional power, grounded in clarity, boundaries, and self-knowledge. The difference is stark. The narcissist's control is temporary, performative, and fragile. The The empath's autonomy is permanent, resilient, and regenerative, and while narcissists may continue to repeat cycles, seeking new sources of supply, the fed-up empath has broken the cycle entirely, removed themselves from the game, and illuminated the path for anyone willing to follow. A living testament to the power of self-preservation, wisdom, and authentic strength. If this video helped you reclaim your power and heal, make sure to like, subscribe to Healing Mind, hit the bell icon, and comment "empowered" below to show your support and share your strength with our community.